Hey everyone, welcome to the Giving Town podcast, brought to you by the Joyful Roberts Group, where we help your family make the right move. I'm your host, Danielle Roberts, and today I'm going to be sharing my recent conversation with Maureen Rogers about chapters, books, and coffee. If you've been in Newberg for any amount of time, you're probably familiar with chapters, but today you'll probably learn some things that you didn't know before. We're going to be talking about how chapters originally got started, how Maureen got involved, how it's changed over the years, and why chapters is such an important part of our town. This year also celebrates 20 years of ownership for Maureen and Bill Rogers, and we'll be touching on some of Maureen's favorite memories over that time. And with that, let's get started. Well, Maureen, thank you so much for joining me today on the Giving Town podcast, and it's great to have you here.
Thank you. Great to be here.
You know, Chapters is one of those places that I feel like it's hard to live in Newberg and not know about Chapters. It's just kind of one of those things that's like one of the staples of downtown.
Good. I like that you think that.
So I'm looking forward to this episode because most people, I feel like at some point have gone into Chapters. They've seen the books, they've had the great coffee, and whether or not they've seen you, they may or not have known that you were the owner, which was me for a long time. Like I saw you around, like, oh, I didn't know that was Maureen until I actually began to learn more about Chapters. So looking forward to sharing the story of Chapters and kind of helping the community understand that it's more than just a coffee shop, more than just a bookshop, and kind of see what you guys are all about. Good. So you were not actually the original founder of Chapters, right? So how did Chapters originally get started?
Well, Brent Peterson and another fellow at the time were online booksellers, and then this building came up for sale, and they decided to do a bookstore. So they sort of started the bookstore with their stock of used books that they had kind of, and then added to it here and there. And the coffee part was obviously just a go together. So that was their start, and they owned it for 2 years before, 2 years before I bought it. And two of my kids worked there from the get-go. So they were already, so it kind of became part of our family life right away.
Okay.
But they didn't work in the store. They owned it, but didn't actually work. And they just started to feel like they didn't really have time for that. I was hired for like 15 hours a week to be the book person, because that's my love. And after I'd worked there just a few months, they decided to sell and asked if I wanted to buy it, since half my family was already working there. And I did. No business background whatsoever. No, nothing. Just thought, oh, bookstore. I've always wanted to own a bookstore. And here it was, plopped in my lap. And that was my background. So I bought it.
You know, there's a really good article that Brandon with Newberg did on you guys. And I actually got some of that for some of my questions I got from that. But you mentioned like, well, if I can run a household, then I should be able to figure this. If I can manage children, I should be able to manage a coffee shop, right?
Right. And it's been, honestly, I didn't have any business background. And I kind of think that helped me, because a lot of business is money, is how you manage your money. You might have a great business idea, but if you can't sustain it, it's not going to stay around. And so having, run a household on very little money for a long while, I thought, I can do this. And I have, somehow or other.
So the original vision was a bookstore, basically, that also had coffee.
Yes.
Right?
And I always joke that Chapters, to me, is a bookstore with a coffee shop. But I think it's a coffee shop that has some books, because it wants to be a coffee shop. The coffee takes over because that's the sort of immediate, people come in for that. Yeah. And that wants to grow. And I keep shoving the books back in there. So that's my part of it, is because that's my love, is the books. But I mean, it's a small bookstore, right? It's modest in size when we have Powell's to compare it to. Sure. But yeah, I try to keep the books forefront, but the coffee often dominates.
Well, and I want to get to the books. But first, I mean, so you have 5 children? 5. Okay. So how do you, I mean, we have 2 kids, and my wife stepped away from working because she decided to homeschool, and we've talked about there's certain things that, she would love to do. And we're like, how do people do this? Like, how do you manage having 5 children and also running a business? How do you tackle that?
Well, I didn't do it till my last child was 10.
Okay.
That's how I did it.
Okay.
So 5 children, I never sat down. Like, there wouldn't have been any time to do any of it. So yeah, I waited. And honestly, when the bookstore opened, the Petersons ran a little blurb in the Newberg graphic about this bookstore, said what the name was going to be. And I was just envious because I wasn't working, but I'd never really had a job that I thought I would want. I saw that little newspaper article and I thought, that's it. I'm like 47 years old at this point, and 2 years later, there I was. Never thought that would be the case. I didn't angle for that to happen. It just sort of fell into my lap. But anyway, yeah, so I waited.
Yeah. So you got involved, though, because of your love of books, right?
Yes, they needed a part-time book person. And my 2 kids that worked there said, you should hire my mom. That's just about the right amount of hours for her. That's what she's all about. And so I took a part-time job working for them. Okay. And it really was like 4 months before they decided to sell it. Okay. So I got a little tiny taste of what it would be like.
So how do you choose? Because when someone goes into chapters, if someone hasn't been in there, you kind of see it. Most of it is the coffee shop. There's a lot of tables. There's a lot of places for people to sit. And then there's kind of a couple different sections where there's books. Most of them are kind of like on the right side when you go in. Yeah. There's not a ton of space for books. So you kind of have to be selective of, all right, what kind of books do I choose? How do you go about deciding this is the book that's going to go in here?
Good question. That's a great question. I'd love to give you a great answer. I mean, I hope I do succeed in doing that. A lot of it ends up being what Maureen wants to read. So what I think looks good. But so I do orders for people every day. They want to get a book that I don't have. So I order for people all the time. So anytime someone orders a book that's off my grid, I try to stock that in the store because I figure they want that book. So certainly other people are going to want that book. So that's part of it. I try to listen to my customers, and I do get, list after list after list from different sources. But it is hard. It's hard to know, like, what's a winner of a book. What I think is great, you might just turn your nose up at. So in a way, I kind of create my customer base based on what I put out there. Like, I don't have comic books because I don't read I don't like them. I wouldn't be good at picking them. So that's just not something I'm ever going to have. So I don't.
But you do have a nice book section for kids.
I do, and I have graphic novels for kids. That's different, though, than, like, say, comic books, for the real aficionado of that. I'm not that person. So I wouldn't even have a way to start. How would I pick a good, so I don't. Yeah. So I would try to stay away from what I know nothing about and what I have no interest in because I just can't sustain it. Yeah. And I'm small enough that I could get away with that. I don't own Powell's. They have to have all of it, and I don't. So my idea is to have kind of a curated list of things that you're not going to find at Costco. Like, they have the New York Times bestsellers. I just kind of stay away from that because most people are going to pick them there. So I try to just get a curated list of things that maybe you haven't seen somewhere else, but that would, ring a chime kind of for you.
So what is the kind of theme that you go for? And I'll give my thoughts too, because I love books and I go in there and I take a look. So I'm just curious, like, inside Maureen's mind of what you think makes a good book.
Oh, what I think makes a good book.
Or what you think is worth reading about. So maybe not just the book itself, but like the kind of things that are good for people to know that.
Well, I really like good writing. I mean, to me, a good book is a book that sells me on something I'm not interested in. Maybe a type of book I wouldn't, like a thriller. Okay, I wouldn't normally read a thriller, but sometimes you just get such a good writer writing it that you want to read that book for the experience of reading it. Mick Herron, who has written the Slow Horses series, if anyone knows what that is, that's also a series on TV, very popular. It's just nothing that I would normally read. I've read all of them. There's like 9 of them, 9 or 10, because they're so well written. And so to me, it's not really what the story is about so much as how it's written. So if I find an author that somehow I come across and see their writing. I will get their books just based on the fact that they've done their job. It's not just this happened, then this happened, then this happened. They pull you in by characterization.
Okay.
So that's the kind of book I like. Some people just like, a thrilling book. They don't really care about the writing part so much. So I do have to have that. It just might not be a book I would pick.
Yeah.
So
And it might be for me just because I have a certain bent that I go in and what catches my eye is always there's books. There's a lot of books on like the Enneagram, which is fascinating. There's interesting theological books from different angles.
Yes.
Some of them are, purely for spiritual growth. Some of them are people who are questioning their spiritual journey and wondering, okay, is there something to this? Hearing people's journeys of people who have been on both sides, or I shouldn't say there's not both sides, but there's all different parts of a spectrum of what spirituality is. And I think there's pretty much something for everyone there. And so I found that very interesting just because I'm personally very interested in those kind of things.
Well, and that's that sort of spirituality table, philosophy, spirituality, whatever, inspirational, you might say. That is a difficult one to walk because everybody does have such, and we have a what I would call fairly conservative Christian college in town. Mm-hmm. So that group of people need to be represented, but at the same time, like you say, people who are questioning that same faith or have gone beyond that faith or have a different faith. So it all kind of has to be there.
Yeah.
That's a challenge. The nonfiction is more challenging for me than the fiction, for that reason, because everybody's different. And I'm not a big nonfiction reader, maybe that table, but like not the history or the rest. So that one, I really go with what people have ordered from me.
Okay.
Because I figured this is their genre. They're going to know more than I do. So that often represents more my readers' choices.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess I would fall in that category because those are what I just find so fascinating. One time I was in the library and just got so overwhelmed and very emotional at like this huge wall of books that I was like, in a lifetime, I could never read all of these. And there's thousands of great books out there. And it just feels like overwhelming because, at most I could probably read, maybe 10 books in a year. I'm kind of a slow reader and I don't spend a ton of time reading.
Yeah.
Maybe 20 if I was like really like dedicated to it. But that's like if you read 20 books in a year and you read for, that you do that for 50 years, like maybe 1,000 books. That's a lot.
That's a lot of books.
And
so many books, so little time.
So many. And there's more books that come out every year that you're like all the ones that happen.
I never understand. Like I will not, if a book has not grabbed me, if I'm not into the book by page 5, I'm just not going to keep up with it for that very reason. Like there's going to be a better one out there for me.
Yeah.
Some people, if they start a book, they're going to finish it if they hate it. And I do not understand that commitment. It's like, there's other books,
I'm a little bit that same way. I don't always do that, but I have that sense of loyalty. Like I started this, like I'm going to finish it. If it kills me, like, well, maybe that's not the best attitude.
I do not have that commitment at all.
So I guess the importance. So when someone comes in, most of the time, now these days, most of the time when people are coming in is to get coffee.
Yeah.
But the books are there. Why do you feel like it's important to have books in the shop when a lot of people would go on Amazon or wherever and buy their books there?
Gosh, I'm a real physical book person. I don't listen to books very often. I certainly wouldn't read one like on a Kindle. I get people that do, and travelers, I get it. It's just not my thing. I really want the physical books to be out in the world. Kind of like when you go to a library, like that just represents something that represents a lot of things, but I want them to be the real thing. And you can order a book on the same book I can give you on Amazon, but you can't smell it, feel it, like the heft of it, the size of it. What's the print like? That's important to me. Like I would never just want to choose a book from a list of books, even from a flat picture. There's just more to a book than that for me. So I want that experience. That's my customer, the person who feels that way. When I first started, Amazon was just beginning to bloom. And I had a lot of anger about the idea of people could just go buy the same book. And then I realized, like, well, the person that wants to do that just isn't my customer. I'm catering to the person to whom it is important to see it, feel it, buy it from someone who picked it out for them. So that helped me a lot. I just decided to drop that whole feeling of anger or whatever, resentment, and realize that there's going to always be people that would rather buy books that way. That's fine. But there's also going to be people who want to come in and see the physical book, and that gives them, for some people, for me, seeing books is just a anxiety reducer.
Yeah.
It calms me just to see the actual books. And I do think in a place of coffeeing where there's conversation going on, it's lovely, not window dressing, I don't mean that, but companions to have around you.
Yeah.
So I just like that to be in the air, kind of. So
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, my wife and I, our idea of a good date is going to Chapters, sitting down and reading a couple of books.
Good taste.
So
I like that.
We'll go in and order a coffee, or if it's in the evening and you guys are closed, we'll get some of the cream, Northwest ice cream. We'll pick out a book we find interesting and just read it for however much time we have. And some people would say we're boring, and I just say, we're tired parents.
Exactly.
We do so much
My
that
kind of people.
So I love that the books are there, and I'm the same way. It's nice to get off of our phones, get off of a screen, and just pick up something physical and
Something real. And also for children to come in and see that adults are reading books, and that there's books low down on the shelves for them and books that they can do. It's just a good influence.
Hey everyone, quick break from the episode. The Giving Town podcast is brought to you by my real estate team, the Joyful Roberts Group. We're a family-run business located in Newberg, and we are passionate about serving and advising our clients at the highest level possible. Our goal is to serve you with excellence, get you the results you're looking for, and help you enjoy the process. If you've appreciated this podcast, the best way you can help us out is by introducing us to any of your friends and family who are thinking about buying or selling a home anywhere within 45 minutes of Newberg. All right, thanks for listening, and back to the show. Yeah. So the coffee side of things, it wasn't necessarily an afterthought, but it wasn't originally the primary purpose. So can you share about how the coffee business has kind of developed over time?
Yeah, I when I bought it, the coffee bar was in a different place for one thing, but I didn't know anything about coffee, anything. And of course, I started to learn. But right at that time, maybe within 6 months, my daughter who worked there started doing latte competitions, and she got to know about Stumptown, which was just beginning its journey also they were kind of exploding on the scene.
Okay.
So we got interested in maybe seeing if we could get their coffee, only because nobody had it in town. So the coffee I was using was represented in, at that time, 4 other shops.
Oh, wow.
And it was fine coffee, but it wasn't exclusive. So that really was my drive to go with Stumptown, was just to get something different. And I knew they were becoming popular. But that began my actual education, because Stumptown itself, on the business end, they interviewed, you couldn't just get their coffee at that time.
Oh, interesting.
Interviewed. Okay. I got interviewed twice, had to go up there, be interviewed. They had to hear all about me. They came to my shop to look at it. They wanted to make sure that I would represent their coffee, because they had very strict ways that you brew it, ways that you would do the espresso and stuff. And they trained us to do that. So they wanted us to do it their way.
Okay.
To make the coffee bloom. So I learned all that. I mean, I did learn how to be a barista, and I did it for a while. I no longer do the barista part. But so that was really important, because they took it so seriously.
Yeah.
And they would send people out every month to come and just check up on it, see if we needed any extra training. It all came as part of buying their coffee. They serviced my machines. It was amazing.
Oh, wow.
But it helped me because I had them over me. I could ask any question. They would come out and retrain a new barista that started, or we could go up to their facility. But that was really how I got my education. I didn't come to the business as a coffee person.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm Canadian. I was a tea person and still am a tea person. But so my passion for it grew as I learned, and it became, it was super interesting and really fun. But I don't think when I bought the store, I had any idea about all that, because that was sort of the beginning of the Northwest coffee craze. Yeah, it was 20 years ago. So, it was cool to get in on the beginnings of it. I mean, now Stumptown, you can get it easily, but in those days they were more careful. And so, which just helped me a lot.
Yeah. Well, so are they don't do that anymore, do they? Where they come in, they'll train.
No.
Okay.
They're just too big now.
Yeah, I was gonna.
They've been sold.
That'd be very impressive.
Times.
Okay.
But the original owner he had really just started the company a couple of years before, and he was still there. And it was small, and it really was very exclusive.
What a great way to learn, though, about. I mean, that's a really kind of unique opportunity to be able to learn. What are some of the things you learned? And some of these, I think I mentioned before, some of these questions I've written down, some of them are off the cuff just as I think of them. But what are some things that you learned about coffee that you found either like surprising or just like, how did I not know this? Or is there anything that stands out?
How they make the coffee was most interesting to me. The reason Stumptown's coffee was so good and expensive, so clearly a step up from what most coffees were, at least at that point, is that they do it. I always use cookies as an example. Like when you bake cookies, you want them all exactly the same size so they'll bake evenly. If you had huge ones and tiny ones, something's going to burn, something's going to be undone. That's how most coffee roasters just throw beans in there, all different sizes, different ages. They really grade their coffee by size, by moisture content. So when they're roasting it, all of those beans are relatively the same dryness to start with, the same size. So when it's done, it's even. And it really comes across in the taste. When it's different than that, like Starbucks sort of started this burning the coffee and they created a taste for that, but it's really just burned inferior coffee. And now people think that's good coffee, but it really is just a way to do it cheaper,
I wasn't going to name them. I was going to say other large companies, they do make it even. They just bake the cookies for 30 minutes on 400 degrees.
Right. But you know what? They're laughing all the way to the bank because it's worked. And they did start, they really are responsible for making going to get coffee a household thing. So I do thank them for that. I just don't emulate how they do the coffee.
Yeah.
And that wasn't definitely, then really Stumptown was the anti-Starbucks because they really took this and made it an art form.
I should say that. Scratch that with it. I'm not going to scratch that out, but no, that's really interesting. So you're not exclusively Stumptown anymore, right? You have other
Absolutely, we don't use Stumptown anymore.
Oh, at all? Okay.
We now use a company, Bespoken, who reminds me very much of Stumptown. Smaller, they excellent coffee, but just Stumptown got bigger and less personal. It's still good coffee, nothing wrong with it, but it's just available at Fred Meyer, and you can buy it anywhere. So again, I wanted to go back to something that was exclusive, more to us, and the roasters, they just are good. We just had come across it. We also have Caravan. So we carried two kinds, but we only use one for espresso. And just the Bespoken for espresso.
It's funny because I always go in there and there's, I can't even remember all the names, but there's a lot of some will be from Brazil or some will be from, and they have their names. And so there's usually 3 different names and they'll say all right, what do you want today? And I usually will just get a drip and I have to go back and forth, read the notes. So, it has some fruity notes, but also like a caramel chocolate aftertones. And so making decisions is hard for me. People hate going to restaurants that I haven't been to before. I read every item on the menu and then kind of go back and forth. So, but I like it.
A lot of people are that way. Most people don't really care. They just want a nice cup of coffee. Yeah. I hope that any of the 3 that they get are a nice cup of coffee. But you do learn as you go that South American coffees are less fruity. They have the less blueberry overtones. Yeah. And the African coffees tend to be very fruity. So you kind of those 2 divisions help.
Yeah.
I don't really love African coffees because they're so fruity, but most people love them.
Okay.
They want all those overtones of, and I just don't like them. So I'll always pick a South American if I have just those two choices of some place where I've never gone before.
Okay.
So that kind of is a division that helps. But then within those, of course, there's favorites too.
Yeah. And there's lines too, because you go to, or I guess it's, again, maybe spectrum's a better word. Because some places you go in and I said, what kind of coffee do you have? And they're like, black.
Even the barista.
we have burnt or extra burnt. Like, oh, never mind. I'm in the wrong shop here.
It's true. It's true.
And they just kind of give me a funny look. Like, we have dark or medium. Like, do you know what it is? Like, yeah. And they just kind of look at me confused. Like, okay, I'm not in chapters.
Well, and it's true. We always ask too, and they'll say, well, I could get the bag. We could go look. And like, okay, that's fine. I thought you would know.
Yeah. My brother actually used to own a coffee shop, up in Portland called Kainos. And I think Kainos might still be there. He's no longer an owner, but he would have people come in. They'd say, well, what elevation was this coffee grown at? And you have those people, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. We get those too. Yeah. They want to tell you all about the coffee.
Yeah. He's like, okay, just order, please.
Right. And I actually very much do not want to be that shop that does do that, because when you, especially up in Portland, you'll get a lot of too much information. I really just want to be that we serve really great coffee, and you should feel confident we're going to have a good coffee. Yeah. And I really want to be the anti-snob coffee shop. Yeah. We all know it, but you don't necessarily need to know it, just as long as we can deliver you a good, you know. But I've been in coffee shops where they go on and on about it.
Yeah. How many minutes was this roasted for? Right. And what was the moisture content before and after?
Before and after, yes. Oh.
And what is your quality control process? Okay.
Yeah.
What are we, a quality engineer here?
Right.
So there's between the books and the coffee and kind of being a staple of downtown, kind of moving a different direction from just the coffee itself, but kind of the purpose of chapters. Like, how do you see yourself, like, as your role in downtown Newberg?
Well, I love being host to all the things that go on. Like, a coffee shop isn't a restaurant, and it's not a library. So you can come in and just get a simple cup of coffee, cup of tea, and have a conversation with someone. And you really can't do that. There's not a lot of public places to do that. And I'm a big conversationalist. I believe in, I don't want to go places and do stuff. I want to meet people, talk with them, hear their story, you know, more of that. So I love having a place that is what the function of it is. I get to witness, counseling sessions, real estate deals being signed. We've had engagements there. We've had a couple people go into labor. Oh, we've had a wedding, 2 weddings there. Couple of receptions. Just life is happening at those tables, and you see people. One person's already in and their friend comes in, and there's this like a little electric thing that goes between them because they're just so happy to see them. And mothers who've dropped off the kids at school come in and talk a million words a minute to their friend. Older folks come in, like we have a couple that come in every week, a group of people, and they are elated to have a place to come and just hang out with their friends. Yeah. Which is kind of hard as you get older to even find something like that, Yeah. So meeting and reading, I guess, is what the function of all those tables is. Place to be. Of course, a lot of people come in singly. They do. People that work remotely come in and work there. That's great too. They're earning their living while they're sitting there and studying. But a lot of it is just meeting people, and it's wonderful to play host to that. Yeah. It's a very nurturing place to, like, I feel like I'm getting nurtured by all of that good stuff going on,
Yeah. You mentioned the conversations, and it just made me think of the community conversations. Are you familiar with the community conversations?
Yes.
Okay.
Where you go and have like a talk.
It's kind of like helping see different viewpoints and opinions of what you currently hold.
Participated in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that something you've ever considered having there? It's a different kind of conversation. It just made me think of kind of as one of the communication hubs of Newberg.
People have asked me about it, and not in a can we do it Thursday night type of thing, but like, would you ever? It's hard to do that during business hours because people are there doing real estate deals and counseling appointments. Like having even a book reading would just not be because it's a coffee shop and business is being done at all those tables or studying or whatever. So to have something in the airwaves that's public is not really possible because I feel like I have a commitment to leave that place
right,
kind of quiet. I mean, it's not quiet, but you know what I mean.
Not during business hours, though.
Yeah. And so after business hours, like I'd still have to have an employee there. And
Sure.
So it's just more complicated in that way, as opposed to like a public space that you just get a key to and there's no merchandise sitting there. Like I would have to be at every one of those events or one of my, so it's complicated.
Yeah. No, that
I'm not opposed to it. Like if somebody were going to take on for instance, if you wanted to do it and be the person responsible for that, I've used my building for that.
Okay.
Before for things like that.
But no, I think you're right though about just in general, it kind of is. There's a few different spots. Everyone kind of has their favorite coffee shop. It's one of the spots though that is kind of the hub of where things happen, and it is fun because I'm one of those people. I just see a lot of different people around town to the different things I do, and you see someone come in that you haven't seen in a long time. You're having a conversation with someone else. You, hi,
right?
Hi, bye.
Yeah,
those kind of things is fun. Are there any? I mean, you mentioned several of the life events that have happened. Are there any specific things that you've done, whether it's an event or just moments that have kind of highlighted to you, like, yeah, this is what this is why we're here, or like this is what we're about?
Let me think. Well, I don't know. This is kind of political. Like recently with all the ICE raids, I like being a place we've made ourselves a safe place that someone could come in there, get a free drink, harbor, whatever. That kind of thing where you're just a safe place for people. We get told that a lot by people. I've gotten notes, I've gotten emails. People have come up and talked to me about what they call it, whatever that means to them. That they feel like this is a safe place because everybody accepts them, everybody welcomes them, tries to learn their name, regardless of what they are feeling unsafe about.
Sure.
That's a spectrum of things that people have. When I get those kind of notes, that makes me feel like I'm privy to seeing this. Like my baristas are great about that. They're very warm and welcoming.
Yeah.
And I think they try to find the people that maybe don't get that normally and single them out and learn their name and, make them feel like we're really glad you're here today.
Yeah.
That makes it feel like a privilege to be. I mean, I don't know if that's what we're all about, but it's certainly part of what I see as our mission as being that place.
Yeah. I mean, it highlights what you said earlier, just being a good host.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome, open doors, welcome Matt out. And, yeah. And it's been interesting with this political divide, having people of both persuasions, in there and trying to keep everything civil. And I want chapters to be a place everybody, people of different persuasions than me, to feel comfortable that, we can rise above all those things and be courteous and civil and, welcome and human.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I try to help my staff think like, okay, it's all right, no matter what hat that person's wearing or, whatever their T-shirt says, we need to, as long as they're civil,
Yeah.
we need to be welcoming and make sure they feel the same thing.
Yeah. One of the other things, even within chapters, is you've kind of had a hand in some ways of helping other businesses succeed. So, there's Cream Northwest, so the ice cream shop, Kara East with her And East, there's Expansion Games, and there's Chapters of Cart. Can you talk about kind of your philosophy with that and just kind of having kind of that support to those?
Yeah. Well, one of the things in business, like you can have a great business idea, but making it happen is extremely expensive. You have to rent a space. You have to be able to last the 2 years it takes to get enough people to come through your door to see your wonderful idea, whatever that might be. So the first business that we took in was Cream Northwest. And I had never had anything from them. I knew they were a cart, and I'd seen pictures of the cart itself. And where I live, I would see these people walking by every day. And I thought I should go out and meet them someday because they walked by my house every day. Then I saw a picture in the graphic of Cream Northwest with these two people standing in front of it.
Oh.
And I realized, oh my gosh, my neighbors own Cream Northwest. So I went out the next day and met them, and I said, hey, it looks like we're neighbors, because they had their cart part of the year a few blocks from me. I just had never seen their faces.
Yeah.
And I said, well, we're neighbors both ways, in home and at business. I said, do you have premises somewhere other than your carton? And Mike said, no, everything's too big. We make the ice cream. They have a commercial kitchen at their house, a big, huge pole barn. He goes, we just need a small space to sell out of, and everything's just too big. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, well, I'll push a few books aside and you can come in and be part of Chapters. And then they went on their way. So the next day they came in to Chapters, and he said, well, were you serious about that? And I said, not when I said it, but then I went inside and told my husband, that's actually a great idea. I just need a place to, that's how it was born. And it was funny because I think he opened right before COVID, like 2 months before. It was 2020. And of course we had to shut down for 2 months. But he made it. So he has been amazing business partner. I mean, just amazing. We haven't had a wrinkle. I want to do something. He says it's great. He wants to do something. I say that's great. And it's just been a wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's how you want it to be.
Yes, but that's not what you hear.
Yeah.
Yep. It's been great. So they have different hours than we do because his ice cream people want it later. But that's been a wonderful thing. And then my manager, Kara, started making boards, like cutting boards. And so I suggested she just put some out. Like we had an empty shelf. So she started doing that and selling quite a few of them. Now she does like a market, and she has her own website. She still sells them in Chapters. But then she and her husband, who are real gamers, they love games. Again, not something I do at all, have just wanted to open a game store. But again, that's very hard to do. You have to have enough money to open it with the rent. Rents are very high. So I wasn't using the bottoms of all of my book selling shelves. And they got these shelves in there, but it's not a good place to sell books. Mm-hmm. But the games are big and colorful, and they actually make beautiful dressing down there. Yeah. So I just gave them the bottom shelves. I said, whatever you can fit on there, you can put in there and sell that out of that. So that's what they've been doing. So I wasn't using them anyway. Yeah. So it's added value for me. Never got games in there. And then the Chapters, the cart is two of my baristas. They came to me with this idea once at the Newberg market. They thought I should get a cart, open a cart. They'd work it, but it would just be so fun. And I said, well, that doesn't sound fun to me. That sounds like something you guys should do. And they said, well, yeah, but you've got the business. And I said, well, I don't want to do that. So you're not taking anything from me. I won't do it. So why don't you guys start that? And it is their separate business. I don't own any part of it, but we call it Chapters, the cart. So they sort of have the umbrella of Chapters, but are a distinct business. Mm-hmm. And then I just gave them, I had an empty back room, and that's where they store all their stuff. Okay. So they have a cart, they go to events, but we aren't in competition because I don't go there and they sell out of a cart for me. So it was just a perfect little, way for them to spread their wings without too much financial what would you call it? Investment. I guess. I mean, they had to buy the cart and all that, but as far as storing stuff and
so the way you look at it, it's more of just kind of more branding awareness. You don't have like that.
Right. Okay. And also, I just have like Katia and Hunter have worked for me for years. Yeah. Hunter now works at a winery, but his wife works for me. They've worked for me for years, and Kara's worked for me for even like a decade. I want their families to succeed, and they've got these dreams that it's just not going to happen with rents being so high. So why not? I mean, it is added value for me, I have to say. It's not like I'm doing them all a favor. Sure. It's a good match, I guess. Yeah. So, yeah.
One of the other things that I was so bummed to miss it, was you had your 20-year celebration. So you've been open this year for 20 years, which
20 years.
I'm sure in some ways that's got to seem kind of wild.
I was shocked. I only even remembered it because I was writing a check out and I put the date in 2025. And I thought, I opened in 2005, which is, I remember that for a different reason. So it came upon me.
Yeah.
I would never have thought it was that long. Yeah. So Katia, my assistant manager, is she should be an events planner. I mean, she's just like a dynamo on things. So she said, we've got to do something for this. And I said, well, do we though? I am not an events person. I'm not good at them. I don't want to throw them. She adores it. So she said, yes, Maureen, you won't do anything. I promise you. And really, she pretty much single-handedly did what she did. And then she made dinner for the staff that you couldn't see back there. Well, you didn't see it at all, but she made this whole dinner that the staff could eat because they were all kind of helping work.
Yeah.
And she made stuff for out front. And I mean, people pitched in, and we had one of our daily customers has a small vineyard. They just donated wine and poured it. Wow. And then, it was that kind of a thing with community people just eager to help, which is always hard to take because you feel like, well, why are you doing this for me? Yeah. But they wanted to. So it was really a night of love coming back at me. Yeah. So it was pretty amazing. Packed. Just packed. Yeah. Some of my own baristas came back, and people who might have moved to Portland or something actually came, and it was really neat. Yeah. Really great.
It's nice to have people who like doing events. I'm also not an event person. I like attending events.
Oh, sure. That's very different than being responsible for it. Yeah. So she wanted to do it. It just brought her a lot of joy, and all of my baristas did stuff. I mean, they all did stuff for it. It wasn't just her, but she organized it all and, had spreadsheets, and it was amazing. Yeah.
What are some of the things in the past 20 years that have been highlights? And I mean, I'm sure you went having to close. I don't even know how long you were closed for COVID, but that was one of the things I'm sure that sucked. And I'm sure there's other things that came up with that were just kind of, maybe not a lot of people are aware of.
Well, COVID was an interesting time because we did close for 2 months, but most places closed much, much longer. The only reason we got to open again quicker was because we had food. So we were quote unquote essential. Yeah. You could go in. So you couldn't sit there, but you could come in, and we had to space people out. There was lots of rules about who could come in. And
I apologize for either you or anyone listening who's bringing up trauma for us. Let's move past this part as quickly as possible.
Trauma for me too. But there was an upside for me because people could come in and they could also grab a book. And at that time, the libraries were all closed. Amazon, because the only way you could get things was in the mail, was just overwhelmed. They couldn't keep up. So people weren't able to really get the books they wanted. I was open. And so people were ordering for me. They'd online order. I would deliver to them. I picked up a ton of customers during COVID because they could actually get a book because I physically had them there. It was just one of those weird little things that happened where it actually did pretty well. Yeah. And people were just so excited to be able to come into a store, even if it's just to see the barista. There weren't a lot of people in there, but you know how hungry everybody was for social, even as introverts. Yeah. Just for seeing another human, getting a cup of coffee instead of making it at home. All those little things, picking up a real book, maybe for their child who was, stuck at home. It was a pleasant upside to it. And then when we reopened, oh my gosh, the love. So much love. People were so hungry for that. That was really where a coffee shop came into its own after you couldn't go anywhere and see anyone. So it ended up being kind of a joyful time in a sense. Still had to do the masks and deal with that. But most of our customers were great about that. Yeah. Most. But not all.
A little about the history of the building. For a long time, I heard that Chapters was actually the oldest building in Newberg, which now I'm hearing maybe it wasn't. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, I've been bumped. Mine was 1892, but down on the corner of Meridian and First is 1891. Okay. So they're a year ahead of me. Okay. But I do have a cool picture. I think I told you this, an historic picture of Chapters. It's just mud roads, so it's just being done, right? It's just finished. There's people out front with long dresses on, and there's horses. behind it, maybe a block back, is just a wall of fir trees.
Yeah.
It's like the forest was hewed away and they put in chapters, and that's all that was there. And then forest behind it, all up where college is and stuff.
Because it was like a dry goods store, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I think about that a lot, actually. You know, we know Newberg as what it is with all the homes and neighborhoods and roads, and just thinking, wow, when there's just a huge wall of giant trees and just that brick building and mud roads, it's just funny to think about.
Yeah, you see, the picture is a rainy day, surprisingly, and they've got like boards across the puddles. And women in their long dress. It really makes me think about laundry. Those dresses had to be so filthy.
And you can't just put them in a washing machine either.
No, exactly.
Yeah. And then you guys did a big remodel several years ago. How many years ago was that?
2017.
Okay. Coming up on these years.
Yeah, we stayed open during it, but that was really hard, very hard. I mean, it's the front of the building. It looked like an abandoned horror house because they had scaffolding out front and, you know, things hanging from it. And we're open. Hey, really? So people would come in and you had kind of a tunnel of stuff. But we were trying to take it back to the original look. In the 50s, downtowns started covering over their brick to try to make them more look like malls, which were becoming popular. Okay. People were leaving downtowns to go to these new malls. And so they tried to emulate that. Okay. And so on my building, they just took out the top windows and put this horrible awning and stuccoed it. So it was just, the brick was under there. Yeah. Anyway, we basically took the whole front off and redid it to its original, as close as we could get, look.
And you guys got a grant too through the NDC, right? Newberg Downtown Coalition?
Newberg Downtown, they just facilitated it. It was with what's called the Main Street Program, which is what the NDC is part of. But that's a nationwide thing. And if you have a historic building, I mean, there's lots of stipulations for how you do it. It was a matching grant, so I had to come up with the other part of that. And I couldn't have done it without that. Yeah. It wouldn't have happened. And why is that important? Because it helps to maintain a downtown that looks historic, that looks clean, nice, it's inviting. It does help prosper the whole area. Yeah. And so it was state funded. Yeah. The state is the one that actually puts that in for, again, you have to meet certain criterion. You have to I couldn't have modernized it, but I could take it back to its original.
Well, it looks beautiful the way it turned out.
Yeah, I'm very pleased.
It's probably one of those things like, okay, it's worth having done, but I don't want to go through that again.
I don't want to go through it again. No. Yes.
Yeah. So you're also, just from a community standpoint, I mean, you're a staple of downtown in terms of people go in and, you know, but you also do more, like, I know, like you support different organizations and causes. And, you know, I know Newberg is one of those. Brandon always talks about, you know, how great you guys are. Can you share about that, just that philosophy that you have there?
Well, I mean, I have a tiny little amount of money that I can give away, right, in my budget. But I do try to make it all local, you know, so I try to emphasize the schools and something like Brandon's Newberg, oh my goodness, that's so great. He wants to do a print paper. It just segues so much into how I feel about books, like actual things. It's not online necessarily. It was, but he's trying to make it more print. Mm-hmm. So of course I'm going to support that, you know, and just anything that's local and that is supportive of, like in the schools, you know, I wouldn't necessarily support a golf tournament, but I would support buying books for schools or something like that. I have to choose because I don't have that much to give away or to support or whatever, but we do try to do whatever we can to keep schools, or, you know, if we're going to do a free drink giveaway to teachers, or like during the shutdown, we were offering free drinks to anyone who was affected by that. Didn't matter how, but you were hurting or without pay or something. So that's kind of where we go with that.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who they're wanting to start a business and they want to have a community focus behind it?
Well, live here. I get asked a lot about, do you want to start a bookstore in McMinnville, or wherever, like, no, I don't. This is where I live. Like, this is where I have my being, and I want to be part of a business but many people want their business to be where they don't live. So first of all, if you want to really be community oriented, you would need to be part of a community. And it's hard. Like, my business is easy to do that with because we are a hospitality type business. Not every business is that kind. So getting people in your door to even let them know that you are sort of community minded would be difficult. And starting a new business is just a hard thing to do. I feel for anyone that's doing that. I don't know what I would say. I don't know that I have any great advice other than, join other things besides just your business. Like, I was on the NDC for a long time. Join the library board, something where you're actually doing stuff for the community and feeling its needs, feeling the kind of people that live there, who are your customers.
Yeah. Well, that was huge for us when we moved back to Newberg, after being away for a few years, being involved in Chamber of Commerce and Rotary and all the different things. Got to know so many people who otherwise we just never would have met. And you get to know the community through that too. And I think, like you said, whether you're joining a board or you're joining something where you have some other kind of investment, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. My husband was on the Early Bird Rotary for a long time. He was a president for a year. And I mean, you really get to know a different group of people maybe than you rub shoulders with normally. But that's important because you learn the type of people that live here, different interests, and different charities that are going on, different passions other people have, Yeah.
Well, last question that I like asking everyone on this podcast is, what gives you hope for the future of Newberg?
Well, someone like Brandon Anderson, because he and his wife, a young couple, they live here and they've just decided to invest. Same thing with my baristas. Like, they want to live in Newberg as young people. And they are doing everything they can to join stuff and be part of it to make it thrive, keep their kids in the local schools. That gives me hope. Seeing it's not a place people want to flee. Young people. And that's what you need, is people to think this is a great place to be. I've always thought that. I moved here 30 years ago and it felt like that right away because it was a smaller town than I was from. And, so what gives me hope is the people that I meet all the time who've decided to make this their home.
Yeah, there really are. I tell people all the time when they're like, people describe their ideal place. I think you need to move to Newberg. Like, there just are so many good people here, so many people who care. And I feel like when people come here, a lot of times, not everyone obviously, but many people come and they want to get invested in the community. They want to see the community grow. And you see people really care.
Grow in a careful, thoughtful way.
Yeah, I think grow in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Like, I think they want us, and maybe that's a better term, is not grow necessarily size-wise, but they want to see it grow. Like when I say I want to grow as a person, like kind of in that way.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily physically want to grow. In fact, I would like to shriek. But no, just like as a community, like grow more, like healthy together and become a thriving community. Maybe as a better term is they want to see it thrive.
Yes.
But it takes work and it takes effort. And it takes all of us. Yeah. It's showing up.
You got to join the committee. You got to go to the meetings. You got to make your voice heard. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Maureen, thank you so much. One, for just running chapters for all these years and having that be such a wonderful part of downtown. And thank you for your time today. It was really wonderful getting to know you a little bit better.
Back at you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Giving Town podcast. Our mission with this podcast is to provide hope and inspiration to our community by sharing the stories of the amazing leaders here. This podcast is brought to you by my real estate team, the Joyful Roberts Group. And whether you're looking to buy or sell your home anywhere around Newberg and beyond, we would love to serve you. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter with the link in the show notes, and I'll catch you in the next episode.